John Archer, August 1st, 2029, 7:53 a.m. Sweet reached the edge of the cave and ran to the square-shaped shore. He motioned the sailors to hurry up, and Archer felt compelled to film them run to his location. Soon after, Archer reached dry land. One foot stepped in front of the other quickly, hastily. He reached around, saw that the cave still surrounded them, and little square holes, almost like windows, stood between them and the outside once more. Archer was compelled to think of a civilization that once existed here, built such buildings. But his thought was cut short by the sound of thunder and the crackle of lightning. They could be heard growing louder and louder until finally each sailor reached the other side. It opened into yet another cavern. Each side stood at least 100 feet into the air. Sailors glared up at the stone bridge-like structure that stood atop in the air, connecting each side to the other. "Joshua!" shouted Sweet. A flash of lightning jumped Archer. Then came a voice from the air. "Archer! John!" "Richard! My God, Richard!" Archer felt the joy pouring through his body. Thank God he's all right. From up above, 5 sailors ran onto the bridge. Archer could see Richard's red shirt from the others. In his hands was a machete. "What happened?" asked Archer loudly. It's some kind of monster. It's been following us," shouted Richard with fear. "I don't know what it is, but it's still around here." "Joshua!" screamed Sweet. Joshua stepped forward, waved his arms against the pouring rain and the crackle of lightning. "Joshua, is there any way down?" Joshua answered. "There has to be somewhere." "We'll keep moving until..." That roar broke the conversation. Only this time it was much, much louder. The sailors threw up their guns, ready for a fight, while Archer aimed his camera. He felt the ground shake and heard with every footstep. Something humongous was about to turn that corner ahead of them. With each step, the earth trembled. "Run, Richard!" ordered Joshua, aiming his gun and firing at something around the corner. "Get back, men!" ordered Sweet, looking for the creature. A dark red arm smashed against the bridge, nearly killing Joshua, but he jumped from the falling structure just in time. Sailors shot at the gargantuan, scaly arm, and it roared in defiance. Still, Archer could not get a clear shot of the monster, and he moved frantically to get it on camera. Sweet reached for his shoulder and spun him around. "Run, goddammit! Everyone! Retreat!" Sailors still shot while moving backwards. The monster yet again roared. Archer swiveled, for the screech was much, much louder. It now moved around the corner on all fours. The monster had rows of spines on its back, some sticking out further than the others, but each having a single sharp point. Its nose was round and its mouth was short, but with rows of sharp, jagged teeth. With each step, the monster's 5 toes spread in the muddy soil, and the nails jabbed deeper into the rest of the foot. The monster rose and let out a short burst of roar, revealing its stomach. It was less red and more of a white color. It smashed back down upon the ground, causing rocks to fall off the gigantic cliffs. Then, its massive tail, about double the creature's size, smashed against the walls of the cavern, causing more trees to uproot and rocks to crumble and fall. Around the monster's back were round bumps. Archer thought these were probably to help protect the monster's spine. In the center was a single row of sharp, steep, jagged spikes. The long neck turned as the monster's piercing eyes looked at each sailor, still running for their lives. "Archer!" shouted Sweet against the commotion. "What the hell are you doing? Get back!" Archer ran for him, keeping his camera pinned on the monstrous creature. The sailors stood, shooting through stone structures of what Archer thought were ruins of buildings. The monster stamped its feet against more rocks. They fell towards Archer, and he ducked for cover, putting his hands over his face, blocking the rubble from smashing against himself. Then he felt the ground brush up against his face. The mud filled his mouth. He found himself on the ground covered with dirty water from head to toe. The monster roared in defiance, causing his ears to ring. Archer then scrambled to his feet as the monster caused more rocks to fall from the cliffs above. As they fell, and with the footsteps of the monster aiding, keeping his balance was a nearly unbearable challenge. Every step he stumbled, and he held his arms out for support. Sweet motioned the sailors to run past him, shooting as they looked back. Archer grabbed Sweet by the shoulder and turned him around. "Sweet, where are we going?" Sweet answered, "I found the structure we can hide in." The monster roared, and both stared up at the creature, stomping on a few palm trees standing in its way. They cracked and fell like toothpicks against the monster's feet. Sweet ran, but John Archer raised his camera to record the mayhem. He stared at the viewfinder and saw the monster's red skin move closer and closer to his position. He put it by his side. He ran down the same path as the sailors. The monster rose on its hind legs and reached its front arms high into the air. Its head bent upwards, and the mouth opened with a colossal roar, revealing its sharp rows of teeth. Then it smashed down on its front legs and continued its path of destruction. The spiky tail collided with the steep cliff, allowing more rocks to tremble and crush sailors who were fleeing for their lives. "Archer, get inside!" shouted Sweet. Archer paid no attention to the words. He continued to film as the monster moved for him. He smelled the mud and dirt from uprooted trees and fallen rocks. Made his nose tickle. And sneeze. He lowered his camera, looked back, and noticed the structure he was to hide in. It was built into the side of yet another cliff. Archer swiftly crouched inside next to Sweet, who held his pistol at the ready. Like that would do anything with a creature that size, thought Archer to himself. Sweet motioned for the sailors to stay quiet. "Don't move. Make no noises. No sounds." All the sailors complied, standing shoulder to shoulder. Archer took these words to heart and stopped his excited movements. He felt a feeling of joy overcoming his body, for this was what he came here to see. The amazing footage gathered was enough to make him millions, but Archer understood that he could not show it. The monster's round, spiky head lowered, and it looked into the hiding place. Archer felt it exhale against his body. It curled its mouth, and its eyes grew with anger and rage. Archer saw the monster's lips curl, showing its rows of sharpened teeth. Sweet readied his gun. Then a loud roar echoed through the air, startling all the sailors. Archer recognized it. The same one from the night those worms attacked them. The monster backed away, looking towards the direction of the roar, and answered with its own. It rose on its hind legs, stretching upwards and roaring in defiance. The mysterious roar answered back, only louder and fiercer. The red monster lowered and moved hastily away, heading for the sound, and crushed everything in its way. Archer felt its footstep vibrations slowly diminish against the wet ground from the constant fall of the rain. Sweet then stood and walked out into the falling water. "Let's go, men," he said. "It's safe now." Sailors moved around Archer, and he cut the camera. He smiled, pondered on what the footage he had captured would look like on the big screen. He then stood, walked up with Sweet, who was standing over something. Archer looked down to see a dead sailor crushed under the red monster's foot. Blood ran down from his head into the water forming around him, and his guts were splattered out in the back. Sweet looked away, and Archer saw what looked like a tear come down Sweet's eye. But he thought it could be the rain. Thunder crackled, followed by lightning. Then came voices.